Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This is Ted Murmagos, Division Director at the Delaware Division of Child Support Services, and this is the March Child Support Connection. And I appreciate everyone who. I mean, this isn't the first Monday of the month as we normally plan. But when there's conflicts with my schedule, we have to make adjustments. So I don't ever want to skip a month, so I always try to adjust it accordingly. But I want to certainly appreciate folks who are going to hopefully be tuning in to this event today, and then watch the video at a later time. As we always do, I'm going to go ahead and start with reciting our child support mission statement, and then go over a few ground rules for those who are going to be participating in today's live Child Support Connection. So it's our mission at the Delaware Division of Child Support Services to provide and deliver quality customer support by partnering with parents to improve the lives of their children and their families. This is achieved through obtaining accurate child support orders to meet the financial, medical, and emotional needs, to promote family self-sufficiency, and of course, the best outcomes for children. So that's our mission statement here at the Division of Child Support Services. And I always like to start by reciting that mission statement so that folks that are tuning in or are going to be tuning in can hear what really drives us as a child support program. We certainly want to be able to help custodial and non-custodial parents understand the child support process. And that's one of the reasons why we do this Child Support Connection video on Facebook each month. I always like to start by reading that mission statement. Secondly, what I always have to tell people is, and there's not many people tuning in yet, but for people that are watching this and then maybe will join us next month, any comments that are placed in the comments section of this live event must be generic. We certainly, and this is one of the best parts of reaching out to folks through Facebook's live video process, is to be able to talk to folks about their child support situation by them putting comments in the comment section, and me hopefully being able to triage and get the information to the correct person if we need to further resolve a child support case. But as I do, I will stop what I'm talking about and go right to the comments, because that's the best part of this, the Facebook Live, is to be able to answer questions from the public. So what I thought we could do is talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on with us at the Child Support Program. Recently, I and a colleague of mine had the pleasure of going to the early childhood education program in Harrington, and spoke with a bunch of individuals who actually go out into the field and meet with families with little children, and and kind of do an assessment of their living situation. And we had the opportunity to go talk to them and also share a little bit about what we do here at Child Support. But the reason why I'm mentioning it to all of you is that we don't mention this enough, but children who are enrolled in Head Start or the early childhood education, I keep saying it wrong, but the early childhood education programs, custodial parents can sign up for child support services and those fees are waived. Any application fees or something along those lines, they are waived. So so important that if mom or dad has their kid enrolled in Head Start and they need child support, they can come to the child support office, and we will give them those services as free of charge and without without hopefully a lot of processes getting in the way. The other thing that I thought I would like to talk a little bit about is some of providing folks with some of the stats that some statistics about the Delaware Child Support Program. And so I thought I would take a little bit of time. I usually run through some of the enforcement tools and stuff like that, but I thought what I would start off by doing is talking about some of the statistics that that we have and that we can provide to folks. So the number of open cases here in Delaware is 73,000, just over 73,000 child support cases in our Delaware child support system. And that, quite honestly, for a state our size, is about right. I mean, we average somewhere between 73,000 and 76,000 cases. I don't think I've ever seen it higher than 76 or 77,000 cases over my time here at the Child Support Office. So that's about right. The other thing, I'm going to bring them up here, I thought I could talk a little bit about is, we have, and we talk about this all the time, we have 3 offices statewide, and the offices are obviously open for walk-in individuals. If you have a question about your child support case, you can come to one of our 3 offices. And we actually do see in a month's time quite a few walk-ins, and it's surprisingly for an agency our size that the number of walk-ins that we see is in my mind pretty substantial. So let's just talk about January of 2026. In Newcastle County, we had 726 walk-in customers that month. And then in Kent, we had 285, and in Sussex, we had 284 walk-ins just in the month of January. And then last year, in 2025, just to give you an idea, in 2025, for all 3 offices, we had just over 16,000 walk-in customers come and visit us to ask a question about their child support case, to get an account statement, to just to talk a little bit, or to come in and apply for child support services. So in 2025, just over 16,000 walk-in customers. That's pretty good. And then on the flip side, telephone calls to our office. Obviously, we get a lot of telephone calls, and the total number of calls to our office in January was 16,474. So just about 16,500 telephone calls. And all of those telephone calls, the 16,000 that were made to the child support program, just over 3,000 were answered by one of our child support specialists assigned to our customer service unit. So in our customer service unit, where they take phone calls from clients of ours, that's custodial or non-custodial parents, from employers and other locations such as out-of-state agencies, out-of-state child support agencies that we work with. The child support specialist in that customer service unit answered 3,000 telephone calls. And then, so that percentage is about 60% of the calls were answered by a child support specialist. And then, I know one of the things that is always concerning, even when I call, not child support, but when I call someone, being on hold or wait times is always a challenge. And we do try really hard to keep those to a minimum. And it looks like in January, folks on hold waiting to speak to a child support specialist, the average wait time was about 13 minutes, almost 14 minutes. Now the good thing about that, that was the lowest over the last 3 or 4 months. So, during the holiday season, such as Thanksgiving and Christmas, people here at child support take vacation, so call wait times go up. But if we really strive to get those call wait times under 10 minutes, really don't want people on hold for an exorbitant amount of time. So 13 minutes was the average time where someone may have been on hold. And then this is amazing that the telephone system will actually be able to track this. But folks who called our child support office would stay on hold for 10 minutes and then would hang up. So like the abandonment wait time was 10 minutes that people decided they were going to hang up. But overall, like I said, we strive to keep those wait times down and under 10 minutes. So I'm hoping with the February numbers we'll see improvement with that. The other thing is I should probably give you the customer service telephone numbers. So if you need help with your child support, you can certainly come to one of our 3 offices, or you can call 302-577-7171 and speak to a child support specialist at that number. The other thing, and I'm trying to bring up the February wait times. So in February, just to kind of give you an idea here, in February for our customer service unit, the total number of calls was about 16,000, again, just a little bit more than in January. And then, let's see here, the average answered wait time, it did go up from 13:41 to 15 minutes. And that's, in my mind, is a little bit high. And then it does look like people who called and then hung up, again, waited just after 10 minutes and then gave up and hung up. And I'm hoping they were able to get their calls answered at a later time. But as a supervisor, as a manager at child support, it's really important to me and others that people are not on hold for an exorbitant amount of time, a long wait time. We don't want to see that, and we work really hard to make sure that people are not on hold for a very long period of time. So just wanted to give you an idea, a little bit about what our customer service unit does in the way of calls coming into our office. And then, the other thing that I think is important for people to know is collections. So collections, child support collections, that's really the heart of this business. We want to make sure that we are doing the best that we can to not only collect child support, do all of those enforcement tools that I've talked about in the past, and I'll talk a little bit more about that today, but to also talk about, we want to talk about, what those numbers look like. How much are we collecting on behalf of custodial parents or the state of Delaware, in a given month. So I do have that information, and let me bring it up here. And then, so just looking back at the last couple months, in February, and I was a little bit surprised, I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised by this number. I thought that it would have been a little bit, maybe a lot more higher, a lot higher than what it actually reflects. In February, we collected $5,998,586. And that is actually a little bit higher than what we collected in February of 2025. But overall, it's a little concerning to me, and I'll tell you why. Because individuals are filing their taxes, and we should be getting their tax refunds to pay off child support arrearages. So I was really expecting, when I saw that number for February, $5,998,586, I was actually expecting that to be somewhere around 7 or 8 million, thinking that we would have gotten some larger payments being logged due to the tax refund intercept program. Last month, 2 months ago in January, child support collected $6,245,135. So a little bit higher than what we did in February. So that, like I said, that decrease is definitely a little bit concerning to me. But since July of 2025, we're calculating this on the state fiscal year, since July 1st to February 28th, so far we've collected $49 million in child support for individuals here in Delaware and around the country. Now, that $49 million compared to last year at this time is down about, I'd say, maybe about $500,000. Last year we collected at this time $50,513,000 in child support. So it's trending down, which is a little concerning to me, as I've already mentioned. And my hope is that we're going to get some big hits as it relates to tax intercepts, not only the federal IRS intercept, but the state of Delaware's Division of Revenue. So, yeah, I mean, it's it's a little concerning, but we'll see where the next couple months go, and I'm hoping that we'll start to see an upward trend as it relates to collections. And yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything other than that I wanted to provide in the way of stats. Let's see here. And I'm not seeing any. Let's see, here we go. So let's talk a little bit about some of the enforcement tools. I'm just checking to make sure there's nothing in the comments section. Okay. So when we talk about enforcement activities, and I still want to have a conversation with non-custodial parents. I'm still thinking a little bit about how we are going to make that happen, where we can have just a non-custodial parent virtual town hall meeting, so that we can have non-custodial parents participate, and so we can really get a sense of what some of the things that are hurting the non-custodial parents from making child support payments on a regular basis. because we want to work with non-custodial parents. That's the bottom line. So if folks are going to be watching this video at a later date, I'm encouraging you to, if you know a non-custodial parent and they want to participate in that event, or to come to this Child Support Connection, which is it's supposed to be the first Monday of every month, but I've had a couple conflicts. But we've moved them to the second Monday, but the first Monday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30. I'm really encouraging non-custodial parents to join us in this venue, because this gives them an opportunity to tell us what's going on. And secondly, which I love doing, is obviously praising those who have done the right thing, have met the obligation, and really, there's nothing better for me as a director when I hear from a non-custodial parent that says, hey, my child's graduating from high school, how do I revoke this order? And I look at their case and there's no arrears, and man, the person is done. And I always like to praise those people, because it's really a huge accomplishment when a non-custodial parent has made all of the child support payments, and the child is becoming emancipated. I always tell people too, employers play a super big role in how we collect child support. Couldn't do this job without them. They are really one of the most important stakeholders that we have as a child support program, because of the fact that we send so many wage withholdings to employers, and those employers will make a deduction to the person's paycheck and send it into our office. We collect about 75% of all of our child support comes from an employer with a wage attachment. So just so important for us to keep a good working relationship with employers. So I thought I would talk a little bit today about some more high level issues about Delaware as a child support agency. So in Delaware, for the most part, we are a judicial state. So the family court here in Delaware will create those child support orders. And any time that an order needs to be modified, it has to be done at family court. But we here at the Child Support Program do have some administrative activities that we can do, and it's a lot about I talked a lot about this in the past, about our enforcement tools and the level of authority that we have to take actions on someone's child support case. But we cannot modify child support obligations, and all we can do really is those administrative activities. I'll give you a couple examples. A couple hot buttons are, license suspending a license, taking someone's tax refunds, denying a passport. So those are some of the things we can do administratively, but for the most part, we are a judicial state. In addition to setting child support orders using the child support calculation, the family court also can and will adjudicate paternity, and will hold either a mediation hearing or will hold a commissioner's hearing in order to establish these child support obligations. So all the kind of establishing of the obligation, and one of the big things for us here at Child Support is there's often confusion about the role that the court plays and the role that we play here at Child Support. And there's confusion sometimes, and we get brought in on things that actually happened at the family court and vice versa. So, we work really hard to make sure that people know, hey, that activity or that concern has to be addressed, or it happened over at family court. We really can't help you. So we really try to make sure that there's ownership over a particular issue. And sometimes it's us, sometimes it's child support that has to resolve an issue. And other times it's the family court. But so with that being said, we still work closely with the court because we just have so many cases and so many things that are actually being filed at the court. We are their biggest litigant. We are the ones that are pretty much filing the most within the court system. So but they are considered a judicial state. So just trying to remember a little bit from last month where I left off, and whether it was talking about enforcement tools, because I want to make sure that people understand that, and especially, we don't talk about this, I guess, enough either, is like custodial parents often will come to our office and ask to forgive child support arrears, or to want to close their case when they have minor children and the parties have not reunified or have not come back together. And we try to discourage them from doing that, because once the child support arrears are on the books, the non-custodial parent has missed or has not paid at all any of the current support obligation, those then become an arrears balance, part of an arrears balance, that will stay in place until they are paid in full. So we always are trying to discourage custodial parents, but ultimately, as long as the arrears are not owed to the state of Delaware, the custodial parent can go ahead and forgive arrears, and we try to discourage it, because it's so important that the non-custodial parent be responsible to pay what the court has ordered. What I thought we would talk a little bit about is how child support payments are dispersed. So in Delaware, as well as every other child support office in every state, there is what we call our state disbursement unit. And the state disbursement unit, there's only one of them in each state, and that is the sole place where child support payments are received. So we have individuals, as well as a very sophisticated computer system that will help us log these child support payments through the state disbursement unit, and then send those payments out to the custodial parent. Now, in addition to still receiving paper checks, we will receive, I think it's somewhere around 63-64% of all of our payments come from in the way it comes in the form of an electronic payment. So we are receiving a lot of payments electronically, and not through like a paper check, but you can still make a payment check payment to our office. So but our state disbursement unit, they work very hard. We only have 2 days from the date the payment is received to getting that payment out the door to the other party. So we work very hard to get that meet that 2-day deadline. And for Delaware, it actually will happen much quicker than 2 days. That payment, once it is received by our office, it is quickly processed and sent out. So we do work very hard in that. With that, we understand. And the good thing about it is, those payments may come in by paper check, but they may not go out by paper check. We send out very few paper checks these days, and payments are sent to custodial parents electronically through the First State. Sorry, not the First, not called that anymore. It's called the Relia card, the U.S. bank issued Relia card, or we send the payment to a bank account through direct deposit. And that is the fastest and most efficient way for a custodial parent to receive their payment. And it's the law. If you're going to be a custodial parent, you either have to get your payment by direct deposit, or to the U.S. bank issued Relia card, or by personal check. But so when someone comes in as a new case, our child support specialist will work directly with them on getting them set up for an electronic child support payment. And let's see here. One of the other things too, when we talk about the family court, I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but when we talk about family court, the family court, when we need something on behalf of a client, we have to file. We have to file a petition or file a motion, and that document will then, after we've looked at the case and we've determined that, say, for instance, a contempt petition is warranted, we will go ahead and generate that petition here in Delaware in our child support office, and we send that petition electronically, again, here we go, electronically, to the Attorney General's office, where a child support attorney will review it and electronically submit that payment to the family, that petition to the family court. We can send the petition electronically to the Department of Justice. They review it, all of the material that also gets sent to them electronically, and then that petition is sent. They'll sign it and send that petition directly to the court electronically. By doing that, it's a lot faster, it's a lot more efficient, and it saves money on paper and ink and all of that kind of stuff. I can remember 20 years ago where we would send stacks and stacks of paper petitions to the Department of Justice. Stacks and stacks and stacks. And now all of that's done away with an electronic submitting of these petitions to the family court. And it saves you, the taxpayer, money, as we use less paper and ink. And for the custodial parent, it's more timely. It's more timely. So we talked about two efficiencies. One, how we process payments, receiving those payments electronically and sending them out electronically, and then petition, when we're submitting these petitions to the family court, submitting them to the Department of Justice electronically, and then vice versa, they send them to the family court electronically. But the family court is a key player in all of this, and our attorneys, of course, as they represent the child support program in the family court. So I'm just looking at my little cheat sheet here. I thought maybe what we could do, there's no comments, which is fine. I'm okay if there's no comments. Even though I really enjoyed the comment part of this. The other thing I thought I could talk a little bit about is registration of a foreign order or in talking a little bit about not only registering a foreign order, but talking about when one of the parties lives in a different state, and what goes into that the amount of work to get that case moved to the next step. So when we talk about registering or registration of a foreign order, what that basically means is, when we talk about a foreign order, it's really foreign to Delaware. So if it's a court order created in the state of Texas, because the parties lived in Texas but they now live here in Delaware, or the non-custodial parent lives here in Delaware, we will register that out-of-state order in the state of Delaware and pick up where the child support office left off before the non-custodial parent moved to the state of Delaware. We become the enforcing entity. So we get a copy of the court order from the state of Texas. We usually get some locate information. Yes, Texas will tell Delaware we've shown that he does live in Delaware. Here's what we call a postmaster letter, a letter that went to the postmaster here in the state of Delaware that says this individual gets mail at their Delaware address. And then Delaware will take that Texas court order, register it by filing a registration request with the family court through our Department of Justice. And that registration petition contains all of the information that shows this person now lives in Delaware. The court will send the non-custodial parent who lives in Delaware now a letter that says there's going to be a hearing on such and such a date to register your Texas order in Delaware. And they will encourage the non-custodial parent to show up, to maybe tell us why he or she doesn't believe that Texas orders should be registered in Delaware. But there's a process. And that happens the other way. Say the non-custodial parent that used to live in Delaware now lives in Texas. And we can ask the state of Texas, here's a Delaware order. Here's a postmaster letter that says he lives in Dallas or Austin. Please register our Delaware order in the state of Texas. And they'll go ahead, just similarly to what Delaware did on the reverse side, and register that order in their jurisdiction. And like I said, the non-custodial parent will get notice that this is going on. It's not done in secrecy. It's not done in secrecy, so we're notifying the non-custodial parent. There's going to be a registration hearing on such and such a date, in the state of Texas where you live, and you need to show up. You need to show up for that hearing. So it's not done in secrecy. So that registration of a foreign order, it's a foreign document, a foreign order to the state now where that non-custodial parent lives. That needs to be registered because the person now lives in a different jurisdiction. Now, in some cases, I'm not wanting to complicate this, but in some cases, non-custodial parent moves to Delaware from Texas, but Texas is enforcing that order. They've now sent a wage attachment to the Delaware employer for this non-custodial parent, and the employer is making payments directly to Texas. There's no need to register that out-of-state Texas order in Delaware because the non-custodial parent is complying. The state of Texas is continuing to enforce their court order. So there's no reason for Delaware to register that order, the non-custodial parents complying. And I think I've said this on multiple child support connections in the past, that the more states involved, the more times you have to register an order in a different state, the more things become confusing, convoluted, and the non-custodial parent doesn't know where to go and who has jurisdiction and all of that. So important that if the non-custodial parent is complying, there's no need to register the order. He's meeting the obligation as far as Texas is concerned. So there may not be a need for the registration, but it's only when the non-custodial parent doesn't actively continue to comply with an order and leaves the state in order to avoid paying child support when another state needs to get involved. Now that's when you're registering a foreign order, or when there's already an order from a jurisdiction in place. Now, there's other situations where mom and dad live in Delaware together. Mom leaves and goes to another state. If the mom goes to another state, that state could ask Delaware to create and enforce a child support order on behalf of their client from another state when they live in the scenario here in Delaware. So I see we have a question here. When would a custodial parent need to get an order in a new state? In the new state they move to. So I kind of already described this a little bit, but I'll go through it again. So the question is, when would a custodial parent need to get an order in the new state that they move to? So if the non-custodial parent doesn't comply, so like mom custodial parent moves to a new state, but there's already an existing order in the state of Delaware, it's only when the non-custodial parent continues or starts to not comply with the Delaware order. I got this backwards. I'm sorry. When would the custodial parent need to get an order in the new state? They wouldn't. The custodial parent wouldn't. It's the jurisdiction is always where the non-custodial parent is. So if mom can move wherever she wants, or custodial parent can move wherever they want, if there's a Delaware order because the non-custodial parent is here, custodial parent can go wherever they want, and that Delaware order will stay in place. And we would continue to collect and send payments to the custodial parent wherever they move to. It's only when the non-custodial parent moves to another state other than where the order is in place and is not complying with that order. So if the non-custodial parent is complying and custodial parent moves, that's okay. One thing though that just occurred to me too is if custodial parent moves to another state and starts to collect TANF, which is temporary assistance to needy families, they would need to make sure that custodial parent must let that new state know that there's a child support order in another state, because custodial parents cannot collect TANF, temporary assistance to needy families, in any state and still collect child support from a different state. You gotta let custodial parents gotta let the social service agency know, hey, there's a child support order, and I'm getting child support payments directly. In those cases, that that other state would have to let Delaware know custodial parent is on TANF. You need to redirect payments to a different location, which would be the child support office. We should not be sending payments directly to a custodial parent who is on temporary assistance to needy families. So custodial parents don't really have to get a new order as long as the non-custodial parent is staying put in a state where the order has been created. So that was a good question. Good question. I like that. The other thing about orders is there's that registration piece. You're registering an order from a different state in your state, and then secondarily is just creating a new order. You know, mom and dad lived in Maryland. Dad moved to Delaware, and the child support agency in Maryland wants us to create an order against dad here in Delaware on behalf of their Maryland client. Happens hundreds of times, and we would go ahead and create that order on behalf of a Maryland child support client, because the non-custodial parent, and in this case dad, lives in Delaware. So there's that registration piece when there's already an order that exists and non-custodial parent moves. But there's also, hey, he moved to your state, she's living in Delaware, and we would like you to create an order on behalf of our client. And we would go ahead and do that. And send those payments directly to the state of Maryland or to a different state. So, that's just talking a little bit about how we create obligations. I thought too I could talk a little bit about some of the parent locate activities. I don't know if this really happens as much anymore, where individuals will come to us seeking a child support obligation and not really know who the other party is. I'm sure it happens, but it doesn't happen as to the level of, it doesn't happen a lot. Usually they know who the person is, and the custodial parent is one of the most important parts of this child support process. We could not do what we do without information from custodial parents. And, it's concerning a little bit sometimes to me that, in some small cases, custodial parents, start off by giving us all the information, and then it's like, all right, you're on your own now, But no, that's not the case. We need them to be active players in this child support process. So, whenever a client walks into the child support office for the first time, wanting us to start a case, we'll give them a child support application. We'll ask them to complete some forms, but we really need to. We cannot do anything without a couple pieces of information. And it's a shame because we have to tell people, if you don't know these things, you got to find out and come back to us. Especially if the non-custodial parent has a name that's common, John Smith or, Stephen Jones. It makes it so much harder for us to locate them. So we always have to tell custodial parents, if you want us to start a child support case, we need to know a couple things. One, name. We've got to have a name of the person. Number two, Social Security number, date of birth, If you have an address, that's helpful. But you got to have a name and a date of birth, a name and a social security number to kind of get us started down this process. Okay, I see there's a question. So thank you, Ms. Martinez. Appreciate you joining us today. Can we talk about the state keeping state arrears, such as when children receive, something popped up here, receive TANF payments let's see, I'm sorry, I'm going to start over. Can we talk about the state keeping state arrears, such as when a child receives TANF payments? From child support payments until they are paid in full, when it is the non-custodial parent, aunt, a grandparent, etc., who has continued to be the sole caregiver. Seems like keeping payments meant for kids while the relative bears the financial burden is unfair and opposite of what the child support office is supposed to be doing. Is there no consideration in Delaware for the situation? Kinship barely gives you $500 once and from Kmart. May have changed since I went through this process in 2014. And that's all the support you get. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about temporary assistance to needy families and how that works. And then I see there's another question, and we'll stay on as long as the questions keep coming. So let's TANF, temporary assistance to needy families. I hate to go back in time, but since the creation of the child support program in 1975, one of our main roles is to collect from non-custodial parents child support that is retained by the state, in this case the state of Delaware, for TANF benefits that have been paid out by the Division of Social Services. The custodial parent gets their TANF grant every month from the Division of Social Services. We receive an automatic referral here at Child Support to create a child support case. Custodial parents who get the TANF benefits are required by federal regulations to cooperate with the Child Support Office. Once we get that referral, and we create a case in our child support system, we will go after the non-custodial parents of these TANF situations to collect child support from them. And you're absolutely right. The state of Delaware does retain a portion of those child support payments to pay back the state of Delaware and the federal government, quite honestly, for TANF benefits that have been issued. But if the non-custodial parent pays their child support payments regularly when the custodial parent is on TANF and meets their child support monthly obligation, there are a couple other payments that are issued to the custodial parent, again, from the Division of Social Services. One is called the supplemental check, and one is called a fill-the-gap disregard payment. And the disregard payment, the fill-the-gap disregard payment, can be up to $50 here in Delaware. And the supplemental payment is another, I don't want to say substantial, but another portion of the collections from the non-custodial parent. And how that amount for the supplemental check is determined, quite honestly, is a complicated formula that I really don't know all the ins and outs to. But it determines how much or what portion of those child support payments will then be paid by the Division of Social Services to the custodial parent. So in addition to the disregard check, if the non-custodial parent is making their payments, the custodial parent will get a supplemental payment and will get a disregard check up to $50. And those payments, again, are also paid by DSS here in Delaware, the Division of Social Services. So there is, and I'm going to talk a little bit, there is a movement happening in some states that child support programs are sending more of those payments from the non-custodial parent to the custodial parent. But it does require a lot of legislative help. It does require some financial help to the child support program. And Delaware is looking into trying to do something, but we're not quite there yet. We're in the early stages of exploring how we can really send more of those payments to the custodial parent directly. The hope really is, Ms. Martinez, the hope really is that non-custodial parents will continue to pay even though they know their children may be on TANF, so that we can send more of those payments to the custodial parent. And then really the bottom line too is we want folks to be self-sufficient. That's part of our mission here at the Child Support Program. It's part of the mission of our Department of Health and Social Services. So the hope really is that folks will no longer need TANF, and non-custodial parents will continue to pay, and we can send those payments directly to the client. The other thing too I wanted to mention real quick is when a client goes off of TANF, right, the child support order stays in place, and any payment that comes in while the client is off of TANF goes out to her or him, goes out to that custodial parent. And if there's any custodial arrears that accrue, any arrears that accrued that are owed to the state of Delaware get bumped down the line, and any arrears owed to the custodial parent get paid first in the hierarchy of the payment processing distribution process. So it's always current support paid first. Any arrears that are owed to the custodial parent are paid second. And then anything owed to the state is paid third and beyond. So we do try to make sure if a client was on TANF and then goes off of TANF, that they get their current support and their custodial arrears paid first before the state of Delaware gets any of their arrears paid. But I agree. I wish we could send more out to the custodial parent, and we're actually kind of looking at how we can make that happen. It's not going to be for a while, and it has to be based on some funding, increased funding to the child support program, not only here in Delaware, but around the country. That's a great question, and I really, really appreciate you typing it up. It was a long question, and really grateful that you put it in the comment section. The next question is, how does a custodial parent find out who is assigned to them as a caseworker? Is a designated person assigned? So in Delaware, I already mentioned a little bit how we have a customer service unit. And really, it's the role of that customer service unit to obviously answer questions about child support, and I hope about other areas within the Department of Health and Social Services. And then to try and triage, what potentially the next steps in the case processing process is, are for that particular case. But if the customer service unit child support specialist cannot resolve the particular issue, or there needs to be follow-up done on the client's child support case. The case is actually, the inquiry is actually sent to a child support specialist in our operations unit. And the child support specialist in the operation unit will do one of a couple things. One, they will go ahead and review the case and say, yes, the case needs to have a contempt petition generated. And we'll go ahead and take that action, and you as the client will get a letter. Child support did X, Y, and Z. Or, they'll review the case, look at we send the customer service unit child support specialist will send an email to them so they know what's going on, and they can read the email, and if it says, client needs to talk to you about how to handle A, B, C, and D, they'll go ahead and call the client and have a conversation with them about, the child support case and what needs to happen next. And that's how you would be able to determine who your child support worker is. But for the most part, it's customer service trying to resolve it as much as they possibly can, and then if there needs to be additional follow-up done, getting it to the worker, the child support specialist in our operations unit who would handle next step case processing or would reach out to the client or non-custodial parent to answer their particular question. The other thing too is through the website my.delaware.gov, you can communicate with your worker directly, and you wouldn't have to call and be on hold or anything like that. You can communicate with your worker directly, and you would see who your designated caseworker is. Oftentimes, and I'll leave it at this and go. I see another question from Ms. Martinez. The other thing is, from time to time, as we add child support specialists to our operations unit, or someone leaves child support, we have to reshuffle the caseload. And the worker that you may have today may not be the worker that you have next month. And it's because we're trying to redistribute the cases a little bit. And then, when someone starts, we're training and gradually giving them more and more cases to actually work. So I always encourage people to go to my.delaware.gov, and you can email your worker directly rather than having to be on hold. So I strongly suggest you do that. And then Ms. Martinez, also the reason that most of us have to receive TANF back in the first place is because of the parents are incarcerated or have had their children taken away to drugs, etc. They definitely are not making child support payments. I filed for child support in 2014 and finally received my first payment last year. But after Delaware, I took the $1,200 stimulus and other payments. After Delaware, I took. Yeah, so the other thing too, and that goes along with what I mentioned a little bit earlier, about never giving up and never, forgiving arrears or never wanting to close a case when you're owed child support arrearages. When the child may be emancipated and you're still owed arrearages, I hate to see where a client says, I'm giving up and I'm going to go ahead and just close this case, because you never know when there's going to be a stimulus check or there's going to be a lump sum payment received from another source or something like that. And thank you for endorsing. Thank you for this, because I'm really pushing the my.delaware.gov, and I appreciate you endorsing that as a way to reach out to your child support specialist. And if you want to print an account statement, you can do that through my.delaware.gov. You don't have to come to our office. You don't have to call us and ask for an account statement. You can do it right through that website. And share information with your child support worker about changes of address, about changes of employment, or whether the non-custodial parent is now working at a different place. You can communicate it through my.delaware.gov. And then I'm going to start to conclude for today. Next month, it's also going to be on the second Monday of the month, because I do have a conflict. So April 13th is the next Child Support Connection. The other thing I'm going to start doing is pushing and promoting our YouTube channel. We are only allowed on Facebook to keep videos for 30 days, but we are moving them to our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you put Delaware Division of Child Support Services, you will see all the videos from our Facebook Live Child Support Connections. And you can go back and look in time and check out some of those videos. And I know I keep saying this, I'm still going to have an event, I believe I'd like to, for non-custodial parents. Really want to hear from them and what's preventing them from making child support payments, and wanting to really kind of have a town hall for them to encourage them that it's never too late to make a child support payment, to get back on track, and really do want to have an event for non-custodial parents to prop them up and give them some encouragement about child support obligations and meeting that obligation. And if folks need to help, help finding employment opportunities, certainly want to try to help them do that. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I'm so glad that there was a couple great questions and comments, and that's why we try to do this and we hang on. Even though we think like, oh, no one's going to put a comment, we're not going to get any views, I try to hang on until 12:30 because I hope that people can join us and put a comment. These were awesome questions. And then I see the portal works partially. I send messages and get generic responses. You cannot upload documents. You cannot upload documents or see the status of the case based on the reply. Is customer service number, no single person is assigned to a case. So we will take a look at that. We will take a look at that and see if we can clear up some of that, the information on my.delaware.gov through our child support portal. But thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your month, and we will see you in April at the next Child Support Connection.